Hey everybody, welcome into the Windy City Breakdown. I'm Tony Andracki here, joined by Andy Martínez and Kyle Millinowisch. And those of you watching the video version, you might notice I have some glasses on. Just want to address the elephant in the room. I have eye infection, a little pink eye going on. I've been getting over a sinus infection, so my voice is kind of weird. Andy already asked which one of my kids farted into my eye or on my pillow. Nobody did, as far as I know, anyways. It just
that you know.
I know of, yeah. The infection just went from my nose into my eye. But we're soldiering on in the podcast. We've seen heroic performances like this before. The Jordan flu game, Maximus Decimus Meridius getting stabbed and then still, taking down Commodus and Gladiator. Like it's right up there with that. But I'll be able to soldier on and do this pod. So thanks for tuning in. We haven't done a pod in about a week and a half, and the Cubs basically haven't lost during that time. They're 6-0 over their last 6 games. It's been a full calendar week since they last lost in Philadelphia. But before we get into the winning streak and stuff, we want to start with a new segment that we're going to do on the podcast. Kyle is a huge fan of the That Guy Rocked social accounts. I am as well, and I think Andy too. But Kyle's been that's his jam for sure. So we're going to start with Kyle throwing us a random player and having Andy and I guess. So
yeah,
Kyle,
I do.
You
I
got
have
your guy ready?
5 different facts. All right.
Okay. Is it Aaron Miles?
No, that'd be terrible. But that would be.
Is it Cesar
Turris? Damn. Now I should have went deep in the weeds on these. You guys are bringing the heat. Damn. I thought this was kind of a layup for the first one. All right. First fact: 18th round pick in 2013. So if you're familiar with the 2013 draft, you're already ahead of the curve here. He played at St. John's, the school that
Frank Schwindel.
Frank Schwindel. Wow, you got that fast.
Bravo.
Yeah. As soon as you said St. John's, St.
Baseball
John's
powerhouse.
isn't a baseball
See,
powerhouse.
that's why I was worried that Andy would know it before I thought Andy would know it before I even thought of who I was going to pick.
Well, I thought you were going super
the
deep
first
cut.
one. I wanted
so that's
to just,
why that's why I went with his
a little foreplay here. Just didn't want to blow my load right away. The other facts I had were he has a 269 career average. Kind of nice. Yeah.
Does he really?
Had 21 home runs with the Cubs combined in 2021 and 2022. And of course, the final one, I think this would give it away. He hit 342 in the 2021 season.
Yeah, that would have given it away. But that was a good one. Honestly, I feel like that's the perfect way to kick this off. Is the Frank Schwindel epitomizes the That Guy Rocked type of thing. Like that stretch in 2021 was, I think everybody that's alive today that followed the Cubs, covered the Cubs, will look back on that with and it'll just bring a smile to their face. That was awesome for sure.
He had that slide into first base against the Pirates, I believe, around Colin Moran's tag, and beat out the play and the Cubs.
That was my wedding day, right?
That was probably 30 seconds after Tony got officially married. Frank Schwindel dove head first into first.
And I had to miss both that game and the wedding because we had just started doing in-person interviews with the manager, and Rossi either had COVID,
he had COVID
or
because Andy Green was was managing.
Inconclusive test. He did. Yeah. So then I had by rule I had to also isolate for a few days. That was crazy. Crazy. I remember watching that game from home. Covering it from home.
That was pretty nuts. All right, so on to the present day Cubs. Like you said, they're on a 6-game winning streak, and it's been a really impressive winning streak. I mean, they 3 against the Phillies, 3 against the Mets, both teams that I think many thought, at least considered, if not everybody considering them as playoff contenders for the 2026 season. We're going to go with our main takeaway from the 6-game winning streak. Andy, I'll start with you. You were out all weekend covering the Cubs-Mets series. What has stood out to you most about this Cubs winning streak?
I had the question marks about the offense with I've mentioned it. I feel like I've mentioned it on every podcast with the departure of Kyle Tucker, and you are not replacing first half Kyle Tucker with any player on this roster. But you are replacing it in the aggregate, right? The whole Moneyball quote, right? Like you're making up the loss in
that's a
Johnny
great
Damon
movie,
in
by
the
the
aggregate.
way.
The bench is just
I couldn't let you speak anymore without me letting
my
you
favorite
know
baseball
that's a
movie.
phenomenal movie. Sorry.
But the bench is just so deep, and I thought the perfect illustration of that was in that last game where the Cubs are going for the sweep, and the Mets use Tobias Myers as an opener, and then go to David Peterson, kind of as like a bulk guy in the left-handed option, and that kind of immediately turns to, I think it was the fourth or fifth inning where Ballesteros was up to bat, and there was a lot of question marks about, are you letting him hit against lefties, or you got to start letting him hit against lefties because he's hitting so well. And Counsell did it then in that first at bat, that what ended up being Ballesteros' last at bat, and Ballesteros got an out, didn't get a hit, didn't reach base. But I thought it was interesting that he chose to not do it there, because that allowed Matt Shaw to lead off the seventh against a left-hander. He was able to pinch hit, and that in turn kept Michael Conforto on the bench in the ninth inning. So he had an option for every matchup. Counsell, that is, had a matchup for every had a bat for every matchup, and it just illustrates how deep the bench is. That, all right, you're gonna kind of punt the fifth inning at bat because it's not, you don't need to pinch hit there per se. Because I believe there was one guy on base or there's no one on base. Like, it's not a necessary leverage opportunity where you want to burn the bat. So maybe you give Ballesteros a chance to hit a lefty, which was a big talking point among Cubs fans this weekend. And then you keep your options of letting Matt Shaw, who led off the seventh with a single, and then you let Michael Conforto drive in the game tying run, and that leads to the win. The bench is just so deep that Craig Counsell has an option for seemingly every situation. Whereas last year, Justin Turner was really the only option that you could trust coming off to pinch hit for Michael Busch, or to platoon for Michael Busch. This bench is just created in a way that Craig Counsell can turn to anyone in that bench in a given situation, and maximize matchups, maximize platoons, and produce the best offensive results as much as possible. Now, I don't think it's gonna, like, there's gonna be stretches where he's gonna be pulling these moves and the guy's not gonna deliver. But right now, at least early on, it's showing like the full potential of what this roster is.
And that win was so impressive because, like, I feel like we've seen this so many times from Cubs games in the past, and every team probably would be victim to it if you watch their games enough. But when PCA gets that leadoff triple on Sunday and they don't score because, Dansby grounds out to the third baseman and then Nico hits that soft liner, and PCA, I don't really blame him too much. It was a base running mistake, but it wasn't like a big deal. He just ends up getting, doubled off a third, and they don't score, and it's a 1-0 game. And, you got Devin Williams coming out of the pen. You're just like, chalk this up as a loss. Like, yeah, it was a pretty good win streak, 4 games, whatever. But the fact that, yeah, they came back and Ian Happ gets that hit kind of through the shift. And then Conforto has really been impressive since we've talked about it in this pod, but like he struggled the first basically week and a half of the season, and he's been on fire since. It has been impressive. And you're right. There's going to be a time where these moves are not going to work out, but everything it's seemingly that Counsell is doing, at least during this winning streak, is working right now. It's, you pinch hit for Ballesteros and Shaw comes through, or whatever the case may be. Like, all those kind of role players are stepping up and filling the role right now. And so I agree with you. I think that's a really, really big takeaway from this last week so far. But Kyle, what do you take away most from
I think it's got to be the starting pitching. Whether it's Colin Rea last night, what did he go, 6 1/3 or 6 2/3, 1 run? Assad on Saturday, I think, went 5 2/3. I know he pitched into the 6th inning, 1 run. Shota last week against the Phillies, I know he's pitching against them again tonight, but 6 innings, 1 run. I think he had 11 strikeouts. And the crazy part is that he induced 26 swings and misses, which was a career high for him. So with Boyd on the IL, Horton done for who knows how long, and I'm sure we'll discuss that more. Having those two guys step in and obviously Cabrera has bene great. Who else? Tyone, I think. Was Tyone, did he pitch on Friday or Saturday? He was good.
Pitched on Friday.
So all these guys are just, it's like rinse and repeat, 6 innings, 1 run, 6 innings, 2 runs. And they're in their winning streak. Their staff as a whole, not even just their starting rotation, their pitching in general has a 2.33 ERA, which if you're limiting teams to 2 runs, there's a good chance you're gonna be 6-0 in that stretch. So the pitching overall was the big thing that stood out to me.
Yeah, the Sunday win to go back on that on the pitching side, to your point, Kyle. Craig had a really good quote after the game where he's like, the 8th inning was pitched by a guy who has 5 major league innings in Riley Martin. The 9th inning was pitched by a guy who has pitched 2 innings at AAA because of injury in Corbin Martin. And then the 10th was just Caleb Thielbar, who's essentially their closer now with Palencia on the IL. It's kind of remarkable that, like, you're able to rely on these guys that, if you had said at the start of the season or midway through spring training that on April 19th, April 20th, you're going to be relying on Corbin Martin, Riley Martin, Caleb Thielbar as your 3 leverage guys,
That would suck.
you'd be like, well, yeah, you'd be very concerned about the Cubs season. And yet they're finding a way to do it. And I know there's question marks about Hunter Harvey because he hasn't even begun throwing, and he was supposed to be a big leverage guy. Phil Maton should get some more clarity here this week in terms of like what his next steps are when he's on a path to recovery. But the thing I kept telling myself this weekend was like, at the beginning of last season, who were supposed to be the main leverage guys for the Cubs? It was Ryan Presley, Porter Hodge, Julian Merriweather,
Ryan
and
Brazier.
Ryan Brazier. None of those guys were leverage guys in the playoffs when I would argue that the strength of the Cubs pitching staff was, I wouldn't even argue. I mean, I would say that the strength of the Cubs pitching staff was their bullpen. That like, you have to remind yourself of like, what it looks like in April is not what it's going to look like in October. And there's going to be guys that start performing well in April that therefore become guys that become figures in October. And I'm not saying that Corbin Martin or Riley Martin or any of these guys that are pitching are going to be like the 8th inning guys for sure in October, but you just never know. You just never know how a bullpen's going to play out over the course of 162.
Yeah, I mean, that was my takeaway too, was just how they've pieced this together with the pitching staff, because Ben Brown should be in there too. I know he's your favorite guy,
Yeah,
Andy,
yeah.
but he's been really, really good. And, he's still had the kind of multi-inning, like long relief type outings. So it's not like he's coming in throwing the 8th inning and then 2 days later throwing the 8th inning again. But when he has, been called on, he's performed. And the Cubs need those guys to step up. And Ben Brown, honestly, he could be a weapon for this team moving forward. And the fact that they're doing this with Jacob Webb healthy, and Webb was supposed to be one of the high leverage guys too. He's the only guy that they added, basically. He and Hobie Milner are the only guys they added in the offseason that aren't on the IL right now, that are healthy and, projected to be in the back end. And Milner's, done fine. He did fine on Monday night in the win. And, Jacob Webb has been okay, but I think he's just overall had some struggles and it's been difficult. And for the Cubs to piece this together without their top 2 starting pitchers, and like we said, without a bunch of their top relievers, they have 5 lefties in the bullpen right now. They have Thielbar, Milner, Riley Martin, Luke Little, Ryan Rollison. And some of these guys, Rollison and Corbin Martin, probably Riley Martin as well. Like, most Cubs fans probably didn't even hear of these guys on opening day, had not heard of them at all. So the fact that they're piecing this together, and, as Council said, like, it's not even just about like the lefty matchup because the Phillies have a bunch of lefties or whatever. It's like those are the only healthy guys. They have to have a bullpen of 5 lefties because that's it. That's what they have down in the minors available. Like, Porter Hodge, was potentially one of the options. He's on the IL with a UCL injury. Like, these guys, the pitching injuries have just really hit the Cubs hard. And so for now, the fact that the Cubs have picked now to go on a 6-game winning streak, I think that's the most impressive part of it, is you have Ray and Assad and Corbin Martin and Riley Martin and Hobie Milner and everybody stepping up when they need to. And I don't know how sustainable that is, but if you can stack up a bunch of wins right now and go 4, 5, 6 games over 500 and carry that on until you get some of these reinforcements back, you get Maton back, you get Boyd back, maybe Palencia's down the line a bit too. Like, until that happens, like, you feel really good about that. And then you can start piecing things together and go on a bit more of a run. But now it's like, you just kind of want to tread water and keep your head above water. But they're doing better than that, and they're piecing it together like a full. I feel like everything's clicking too. I mean, the defense on Monday night was incredible. The offense, they're getting timely hitting. They scored 4 runs in the first, and they didn't score much after that. Like, they're just finding ways to win, and it doesn't seem the most sustainable because of all these pitching injuries to me. But right now, they're figuring it out, and I think that Council deserves a lot of credit. He and Harvey and the Cubs just always seem to find a way as the season moves on to get these guys in the right spot to get out. And I feel like I'm always bewildered as to how it happens, but once again, it's happening this year.
Yeah, I mean, I had you mentioned Hobie Milner and you mentioned the bullpen. I was looking up this quote that Craig had that was great, where he went up to Hobie after, because Palencia went on the IL like 20 minutes before the first game against the Mets, and he asked Hobie, like, when are you going to pitch again? And Milner said, well, there's not a lot of lefties coming up with the Mets. Like, and Craig said, that doesn't matter anymore. Like,
Yeah.
they're so taxed that, like, it doesn't matter about lefty righties. Like, you are essentially the second or third highest leverage option guy because of the situation that the Cubs are put in. They're in a situation where there's just so many injuries that everyone's been elevated. And you're putting the tax on some of these guys to step into these roles that they're not familiar with, but you hope that benefits them later on in the season. And yeah, the offense is so weird because I believe Monday night they were 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position. Kyle, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it still wasn't a great performance with runners in scoring position.
I have no idea.
Is
it
that
sounds
right? Oh, you're just giving me a thumbs up. But they struggled with runners and scoring. Like, I think the offense will turn as the summer comes around. The days get a little warmer, becomes a little bit of a better hitters environment. I mean, there was just situations even this weekend against the Mets where there were balls that were getting smoked and they were just getting knocked down at the warning track or even before the warning track that either become a home run or maybe they land in the gap a little bit better and they produce bigger runs. I think the offense will improve, but that's what's so interesting about this is all these pitching woes, not necessarily great situational hitting in terms of like runners in scoring position at times at home, and yet they are 4 or 5 games over 500.
I have
a
kind of a crazy stat here, and this was at least true yesterday. I don't know if it's still true today. So each team in the NL Central is over 500. I think the Brewers, maybe you could fact check that, are in last at 12-9. I think the Cubs were tied for last with them yesterday.
That's correct.
All 5 teams in the NL Central are over 500. There's only 4 teams in the American League over 500. Yep. Isn't that insane? Like,
that is true. Yeah, the Brewers would be leading. The Brewers would be leading the AL Central and AL West, and they're in last
Sick
place
League
in
American.
And
that's
they'd be
crazy.
half game back in the AL East.
It goes to show. And I think the Reds, if I'm not mistaken, are 15-8. Like, don't get me. The Reds, I know they made the playoffs. Yep. They were the 6th seed last year. I think they played the Dodgers in the first round, but they're a good team. Yep. Don't get me wrong, but them jumping out to a 15-8 record to start the season, I don't know how many people saw that coming. Obviously, the Pirates are good. What's the Cardinals record? Do you have that in front of you? Yeah, I mean,
13-9.
I think they're over under win total. I mean, we were talking about them having 100 losses, 90 some losses in the season preview pod. They're playing well, so it's just crazy how good the division is.
They've been very open about how they're rebuilding. I think it is also interesting to note, like, when you catch teams. Like, I mean, I've said, and we're going to touch on this a little bit more about the Pirates, but like, I've said that I think the Pirates are going to be good, but I wouldn't be also surprised if they're not in the playoff picture at the end of the year. And then maybe as a Cubs fan, you're thinking, like, you look back at the end of the year, if those games matter, it's like, oh, well, they lost 2 or 3 to the Pirates in April. Well, it matters when you catch a team, right? Like, if the Mets are vying for a wild card spot late in the season, you're going to be glad that you caught the Mets when you did. To sweep them when they were in a 11 game losing streak. Like, that all matters in terms of when you're playing these teams and when you're picking up these wins. Like, I think the Rays are a pretty good team, so I thought it was good to get 2 or 3 from them. The Phillies, I think, are going to get back to being above water, and you're going to feel good about taking 2 or 3 in Philadelphia, and then who knows what happens the rest of the series. Like, it really, really matters when you catch a team, because I mean, the White Sox, who I saw them play the Rays last week, I thought they didn't look any good. They swept the Blue Jays. Like, it's just baseball. Anything can happen.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the Pirates because you just brought them up. Like, are they real contenders? Kyle, I'll start with you. Just kind of simple yes, no.
Yeah, I think it's their starting pitching. Bubba Chandler, Paul. I can't believe I didn't start with Paul Skeens. Jesus Christ.
Bubba Chandler goes number 1. They're worth guy. Yeah,
stay hot guy. Paul Skeens. Yeah,
coolest name though.
Who is it? Jared Jones did he have Tommy John last year and he's coming back? He obviously a top prospect.
He's like he's a month away. Yeah.
Mitch Keller. Their starting rotation is very underrated. And Braxton Ashcraft.
That's the team you don't want to face in the playoffs.
When I was thinking Bubba Chandler, that's actually who I was thinking of, was Braxton Ashcraft. But Bubba, either way, it wasn't Skeens. Sorry, guys. Livy Dunn also in the rotation. They're just so. I mean, all those guys, and it's not that velocity is everything. Obviously, I know off camera we've talked about velocity, but just their rotation in general, they can really match up 5 guys on any given day. And their lineup, and we were talking about depth with the Cubs lineup, and they don't have. I mean, O'Neill Cruz is off to a great start, but Brian Reynolds, Ryan O'Hearn, who else is there? Marcelo Zuna. Brandon Lau, that's who hit second there.
Brandon Lau.
Their lineup, there's just a lot of depth. Obviously, Connor Griffin coming up. I think the Pirates are for real. So I would, whatever we posted the other day, the Fangraphs percentage odds to make the playoffs. And granted, this was, I think, literally the day the Cubs started their 6-game winning streak. I don't know where it stands today, but I would assume the Pirates still have a better percentage chance to make the postseason and maybe even win the division than the Cubs. So yeah, Pirates are for real.
Andy, what do you
I,
think?
I, I do think they're very, very good. My one concern, and we've talked about this, is like I don't think they're as deep. They're not as deep as the Cubs. They're not as deep as the Brewers, and they're not as deep as the Reds. I don't think. Like if you lose one of those guys in the rotation, where does that lead? If you lose one of these guys in the lineup, their bench isn't necessarily the greatest. That's where because injuries happen. Baseball, like everyone undergoes injuries and injuries that you don't expect. What happens when those happen? And I just don't know if the Pirates are built for that. Now, if you build up enough of a strong start and you build up enough of stack up enough wins, maybe that depth doesn't really matter, and maybe guys fit in seamlessly. But like that is the question mark of like what happens when these injuries inevitably happen, because I don't think they're as deep as some of these other teams in the division, let alone across baseball.
Yeah, so I covered the Pirates 2 weekends ago when they were here at Wrigley for MLB.com. I was freelancing, and they did something really cool in the starting rotation that I like and I've never seen before. And I was talking to a couple people on like the PR staff and the media that they've never seen either. They have tickets, like tickets that you would get at like a raffle or like an arcade or whatever. And the pitching coach, trying to blank on his name, something Murphy, would go around after each game and he would put up how many strikeouts you had. And, so Braxton Ashcraft had 9 strikeouts or whatever on Saturday's game. So Sunday he would have 9 tickets on, and it was each guy. It was like PCA 4th inning or whatever. And it was because of the phrase, punching tickets. And I just thought like that was such a cool aspect of like from the Pirates end. Is I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen the way that they like handle that kind of stuff. And it was really cool. I thought that was like a fun team bonding experience to like, punching tickets and take it to another level and then celebrate each other. But like that pitching staff, that rotation really seems like they're sort of feeding off each other. Like they all seemed really close in just a little bit that I was around them in the press in the clubhouse rather. But Skeens and Carmen Moldinsky and Bubba Chandler and Braxton Ashcraft and who's the other guy now that I'm missing
Mitch
other
Keller.
ones and Chandler. Okay, yeah, but anyways, like they were like a really Mitch Keller too was right there. Like there are a really good pitching staff when Jared Jones does come back and does what he's capable of. But like I think the bullpen's really good too. They remind me of the Brewers a lot, to be honest. Like what we've seen from the Brewers the last couple of years of uh, a pitching or a position player group that's kind of made up of a bunch of dudes that you've heard of before, but that really you wouldn't think of as like kind of stars and some kind of homegrown guys that are really performing well, like the O'Neill Cruz end. But they pitch really well. Like their rotation, everybody's throwing 98. Their bullpen, everybody's coming out and throwing 97, 98 with some nasty stuff. Like they play pretty good defense. They do a lot of little things well. Like to me, I do feel like the Pirates are a real contender, but I agree with you 100%, Andy. I think it's the depth thing. And, some of these guys, these position player groups, like, if they have the injuries like what the Cubs have dealt with, I think they fade completely because they can't handle it and they don't have the guys that will come in. And, if there are periods of struggles or whatever, like I don't think they have the depth to come back and figure it out. But yeah, this entire division has been really interesting, and the Pirates themselves have been really interesting. But as we're talking about pitching, though, I want to chat through this with you guys. Like, Colin Rea was amazing once again on Monday. He is that depth that we keep talking about from the Cubs. Like 2 springs in a row, 2 Aprils in a row, the Cubs don't anticipate him being part of the rotation. And then by like April 10th, April 15th, he's in the rotation again and needing to make some really serious starts for this team against some really good teams at the beginning of the season, and goes out there and just quietly shoves. And, Taylor on the marquee broadcast talked about how Quentin Berry gave him the nickname 36B because who would sit in 36B, row 36, seat B in the middle on a plane and not complain? Kyle, you would?
Yeah, 100%. I'm a team guy like that. I'm essentially the Colin Rea of this podcast.
Yes, you are. You're right. Kyle Collins, very similar names.
Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, I think it's kind of lame as far as nicknames go, but I think it actually kind of encapsulates Colin Rea and what he does. He doesn't complain. He's quiet. He's understated, but he does everything they need him to do. I mean, Andy, how impressed have you been with just everything Colin Rea has done this year. Again, really a year and a half, I'd say, for his Cubs career.
Is it weird to say like I'm not surprised or almost like maybe like not even impressed because like he's already done it, right? Like he's proven he can do it. This is who he is, and like I think you just almost expect him to go in there and like, all right, 6 innings, three runs, like he's going to turn into quality start more often than not. Like it's weird to say that out of a guy that was that was your sixth starter, that you just know he's going to go out there and put 6 innings up and give you a chance. He's going to have just the nature of the way he pitches. He's going to have outings where, he's going to give up a lot of runs and it doesn't look great. But more often than not, he's going to keep you in the ball game. He's going to give you a chance to win. And yeah, I mean, I guess it's weird to say, but like, I'm not overly impressed or like, and it's not a knock on him or a knock on anything. It's just like he's good. Like he's a good pitcher and like he's proven enough that like it's not a surprise. Like he's just a good pitcher.
Sometimes whenever he throws like 95, I feel like I'm surprised every time. It's been over a year where he does it.
Yes.
And I'm just like, really? Colin Rea can hit 95? And I've had that thought at least 20 times over the last year. I can't believe it.
I have a conspiracy theory that like it's because we saw him, was it 21 when he was with the Cubs?
2020.
2020. Yeah.
Pandemic year.
And and it was not great. And I think in the back of your mind, you still think he is that guy.
Maybe.
But like this has been 4 years where he's been a really, really good pitcher.
He's a solid pitcher, yeah.
You have to think of it as that guy and not the guy that we saw in 2020 where it was like, oof, what is this guy?
So this is from Carson Wolf. He's at the Wrigley Wire on Twitter. He's a great follow if you guys don't follow him. In Colin Rea's last 15 outings, and granted, a lot of them are, shorter starts, 5 innings, 4 2/3, stuff like that. But regardless, he's only given up more than 3 earned runs once. Over his last 15 outings, he has a 3.26 ERA, 72 strikeouts to 21 walks. So, I mean, if you're getting that out of your sixth starter, I mean, that's not much. If you get that out of your third starter, you're like, hell yeah. Getting that out of a guy who was your swingman to start the season, that's the icing on the cake.
Yeah, you'd be happy if Shota was putting up those numbers. So.
Putting up better numbers, but let's relax.
I pulled up his baseball savant just because I was curious. 15 when he debuted, average four-seam velocity was 91.7. In 2020 with the Cubs, it was 93.1. This season, 94.1. So a full tick above what it was when he first debuted.
Is he using his split?
The velocity using.
Sorry, Andy, look this up and we could talk about Colin Rea more. But is he using his split finger more this year than he has in the past? Because that's a pitch.
I feel like he is.
That's a pitch that, honest to God, I thought he was more just like fastball, slider, sweeper.
Yeah. Same.
And two seam.
He's 17.4% usage on his splitter. He was 12.1 last year. 8.9 the year before. He is using. You are correct. He is using his split finger more.
I want to say it was the second inning. Whoever was the Phillies 9-hitter, he got a bases loaded. There's a bases loaded full count, 2 outs in the second. And he got him to chase on that splitter. And I was like, wow, I mean, that is like, it was just such a nasty pitch. It started at the knees and just dropped off the table. And it's another one where, I mean, Tone, you were talking about anytime he touches 95 with his fastball, but that was a pitch that made me think like, holy shit, what? Colin Rea, like, look at this guy. And secondly, on the Colin Rea front, one thing and this is very underrated, but one thing that impressed me last week was, so he came in, Riley Martin opened, he came in the second, and I think it was Edmundo Sosa, he hit the 3-run homer. The Phillies took a 3-0 lead, and I was like, okay, here we go again. The Cubs are in danger of dropping their 4th out of 5 games, like, the dead team.
This is his bad start.
Yeah, right? Like, it happens. But he kept the Cubs in the game. I think he went 5 2/3 maybe, or 6 innings in that game. Kept them at 3 runs. Obviously, the offense chipped back. The Cubs won, I think, 10-4, 11-4, and that was the start of this winning streak. But if Colin Rea doesn't keep the Cubs in that game, and that's just such a very underrated part when they're down 3-0, easily, the Phillies could have chipped away or
absolutely
added on. But to me, that's like the epitome of 36B right there. Just, yeah, but if you get knocked down, you know what? I'll just get back up. I'll sit in this seat, and I'm not fucking moving. That's Colin Rea.
Yeah. I mean,
he generated 11 whiffs yesterday or in Monday's start. 4 of them were on the splitter, the most out of any of his pitches.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Look at me.
Sorry.
I was just gonna say I didn't realize that he threw 6 pitches. He throws, according to Fangraphs, a fastball, a cutter, a slider, the splitter, the sinker, and a curveball. So yeah, he's been, excuse me, he's been really, really impressive so far. One other guy I feel like that's been really impressive is Moisés Ballesteros. I mean, he's kind of giving me like David Ortiz vibes in the DH spot, the way he's been hitting lately. But what have you guys thought about the way Ballesteros is, and should he hit more against lefties?
I'm of the camp where, because, and I mentioned this earlier, like because of, to answer your second question first, because of the way the roster is constructed, he doesn't need to face lefties that much. Now, in 2 or 3 years, like, yeah, he will probably be an everyday player and playing against lefties, maybe sitting against a really, really tough lefty. But like, I'm of the, like, why change up your roster when it's working so well? And he just mashes righties. And to that point, like, left-handed pitching in Iowa last season, he hit 230 against left-handed pitching. He's 0 for 3 against left-handed pitching this season in the major leagues. Like, it's really, really hard to hit left-handed pitching, let alone in the major leagues. And you have Matt Shaw, you have Miguel Amaya or Carson Kelly on the bench as guys that can do that. So why not maximize your roster? But you're right, he is insanely good of a hitter. And when he first came up in 2025 last season, I think he looked like a guy that was like trying to do too much. And I've talked to people with the team. I've talked to PP Cabrera, one of the assistant hitting coaches, and he was telling me it looked like he was trying to hit a 6-run homer every time he was up to bat. That first go around in the major leagues, and that's just it's impossible, right? Like you're trying to do too much. And the second time he came back up in the major leagues, it looked like a guy who had the confidence of like, I'm going to go out and do my best and try and do everything I can.
Yes.
And whatever happens in terms of like being sent down or staying up, so be it. Like, let me just go and play my game, which is very much what Daniel Valencia did last season when he first came up. And we obviously know what happened there. We're seeing it to the full, the full potential of this season, where he is just proving why he was such a highly touted prospect as a hitter, because this guy just rakes. Like, it just seems like he goes up there, gets his 2 hits, and then, all right, lefty's coming in. Matt Shaw, Carson Kelly, whoever, go do your thing.
That confidence is
Yes.
huge, Andy. Like I feel like that. I just see a difference in him, and I still remember the very first time that he got called up last year. And I was at Wrigley covering it too, and he was like, he talked about how his goal was to stick around in the big leagues. That was his goal. Is he felt like he was confident enough and good enough to stick around in the big leagues, and it didn't work out that way, and he didn't like perform great at the start. But I was kind of struck by his kind of calm confidence at the beginning of his career, and this year I feel like it's even more. I mean, like the high leg kick, some of his takes. There are times where I feel like he knows the pitcher is going to throw him a ball and does, and he just like doesn't even get the bat off his shoulders. And he seems to know what's coming some of the time. Like he just seems like a hitter that's well more advanced beyond his years than the like 23-year-old guy that he is. And I have been really impressed with him. I feel like the more I kind of watch him play, the more I'm like, the Cubs have found their DH like of the future. This guy is going to be, I think, in the middle of the order for a really long time for them.
So Andy, you brought up how he shows up, gets 2 hits. His last 8 games, 4 multi-hit games. He has a hit in all but 1. He's hitting .688 with 2 home runs and a 1.831 OPS. Yeah, I mean, he is just like,
wow.
And obviously, I think a lot of that too is Craig picking his spots. He's not facing lefties, so he's really facing righties. But goddamn, is he fun to watch hit. The leg kick, the big ol' ass, the dude just hits. He does. He's the best. I fucking love him.
It's slowest guy in baseball.
What'd you say?
Yeah, slowest guy in baseball. Yeah,
Slowest guy in
StatCast.
baseball. Yeah, it's StatCast page. I know I sent it to you guys last week. Slowest guy in baseball, but like basically hits the ball harder than anybody in baseball.
Best ass though.
You don't have to run fast when you hit a home run.
Yeah, you can jog around the bases. Who cares?
No, but it's funny because Craig mentioned one thing, like what he was getting asked, like we were asking him as media, like what makes him such a good hitter, and like Craig dumbified it, but like it's so true. It's like he just sees the ball and hits the ball, and like you can't teach it. Like there's no better way to describe it. Like he just sees the ball and he knows what he wants to do with the ball, right? Where it's like, all right, like you're trying to pitch me outside. All right, I'm going to try and take it the other way. The home run he hit on, I believe it was Friday, the first game of the Mets, the opposite field home run. He's clearly getting pitched away. And the ball that he hit the home run on hung a little bit more middle. It was still a little away, and he was able to drive it the other way and hit an opposite field home run. That you don't do that as a rookie with 30, 40 games in the big leagues. Like that's something you learn and you're able to do, year 3, year 4. Like he is that advanced of a hitter that it's insane what he can do. At the plate at such a young age.
So should he start facing lefties more often? I think he should. 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 I mean,
I
Andy,
said
you
no.
kind of
I gave my answer. Yeah.
No,
I don't think so.
no. But you have Shaw. You have Shaw there. Who else was the other guy? You might. Oh,
Kelly or
thank you.
Amaya.
Yeah, you have righties there who can take that spot. And I think the reason that we're seeing this success is because he's not facing lefties. I think if he was facing lefties, he'd be those numbers obviously would drop down. So what we're seeing now, stick with it.
I think
Yeah,
if you're I was
Go
going
ahead.
to say real quick, sorry. I think if you're up 7, down 7, and it's his turn to up, and you got a lefty, sure, let him face a lefty, let him get those reps, but don't try and fix something that isn't broken.
Yeah, I think you don't want to mess with him at all, right? Like, I don't. To me, he doesn't seem like a guy who has very shakable confidence. Like, I feel like he's kind of unshakable up there, but still, you don't want to get a guy into a slump when he's in a groove. And look at the way with Michael Busch that it's kind of he's had some struggles this year. I'm not necessarily saying it's because he's facing lefties more often. He doesn't have a homer against a righty either this year, but you just never know how you can kind of mess with guys. I think the one thing I would like to see, I think, Andy, you're right, like in games that are more of a blowout fashion, like give him some opportunities against lefties. But I also want to see him behind the plate a little bit too and see what that's like. But that might just be kind of selfish from a fantasy baseball perspective of like, let's make sure that Moisés Ballesteros qualifies for catcher too, because this dude just rakes. Like I have him on a couple fantasy teams already, and that's awesome. But he doesn't qualify a catcher in all of them. So need him behind the plate a little bit more to qualify.
That's what everybody's thinking about.
He has one game.
Yes.
Yeah, he has one game behind the plate, right?
Yeah, he. I forget
2?
which game it was. He caught like 2 innings or something.
He late. Yeah, when I think they were down or up big. You're right. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, that'll do it for this edition of the Windy City Breakdown. Plenty more to come on future episodes. We'll be breaking down the Bears draft on the next episode. We're looking to book a guest or two for that episode, so stay tuned to that next week. For Kyle and Andy, I'm Tony. Thanks for tuning in.